Plus, was the top Democrat investigating the IRS scandal actually in on the targeting all along? We'll show you his on-camera denial, plus the email an attorney says proves he did it.
There are too many lies, Mr. Chairman. It's time to get to the truth. It's time for the FBI to investigate those criminal acts.
The top Democrat in Congress investigating the IRS scandal now finds himself at the center of the targeting allegations. In February, Democratic Congressman Elijah Cummings denied any involvement with the actual targeting of the political group True the Vote. But now they've just released documents, the IRS has, that appear to prove otherwise. When this story first broke last week, Congressman Cummings declined an invitation to appear on our show in answer to the charges. But he did appear on Face the Nation this weekend with Bob Schieffer and did not get asked one question about this. Joining me now, True the Vote's attorney, Cleta Mitchell. Cleta, that's unbelievable.
That's pretty unbelievable. I don't watch Face the Nation, so I wasn't aware of that.
Not one. It's not like Elijah Cummings been in the news for a lot of things over the past week. I mean, not one question. I want to walk the viewers through what your allegation is, and I want to tell the viewers up front that he denies it, as he denied it when you first accused him of it. Your client, True the Vote, was targeted. Catherine Engelbrecht has got this organization that was targeted by, what, 6 different agencies, personal audit, federal audit, business audit, you name it, OSHA, FBI. They all started cracking down on her after she formed this organization, conservative group, meant to get people registered to vote down in Texas. Then she gets targeted. She's one of the ones who got targeted when she applied for tax-exempt status. You came to believe that the IRS was coordinating with Elijah Cummings and his staff, the minority staff, meaning they're not in the majority in the House, that's investigating the scandal. But prior to that, when the scandal was going on, you're saying that the IRS and Elijah Cummings' staff were coordinating?
Well, that's right, because curiously, in the spring of 2012, True the Vote received questionnaires from the IRS containing over 100 questions. Now, mind you, this is nearly, at that point it was 18 months after they had filed their application for exempt status, and waiting all that time and then to be hit with this huge list of questions. Fast forward about 6 months. And remember, that's when Congressman Issa and Congressman Jim Jordan asked for the Inspector General's investigation into whether or not Tea Party groups and conservative groups were being targeted.
They're starting to get a whiff of it. You know, something doesn't spell right here.
Right. And so then beginning in the fall of 2012, about 6 months later, Elijah Cummings announced that he had undertaken an investigation of True the Vote. Now, mind you, he has no authority to do that. That is beyond the jurisdiction of that committee to start investigating a private citizens group in Houston, Texas. And he announced this on national television and submitted 3 or 4 different letters to True the Vote demanding all kinds of information. But curiously, almost the same information the IRS had demanded. About 6 months earlier.
Okay, so just to advance the story, so you smell a rat. You say something's weird. It seems like they're coordinating, which they should not be doing, right? That's your allegation. Okay, so you had the opportunity to appear before the subcommittee in February, and you raised the allegation of coordination. Let's watch it.
We want to get to the bottom of how these coincidences happened. And we're going to try to figure out whether there was any staff of this committee that might have been involved in putting True the Vote on the radar screen of some of these federal agencies.
The gentleman yield.
Yes.
I want to thank the gentleman for his courtesy. What she just said is absolutely incorrect and not true.
So he denies it. Now, your allegation there was very limited. You said, did the staff of this committee put True the Vote on the radar screen? You know, could he be wiggling out of this by saying, well, we didn't really put them on the radar screen for the IRS. They were already on the radar screen.
Well, what that clip doesn't show is that what we did that day immediately following the hearing was we filed, on behalf of True the Vote, a complaint against Representative Cummings and his staff, asking the Office of Congressional Ethics of the House to investigate, to find out what they did. And that's what he was reacting to, because he saw the complaint. We attached it to our testimony. And
so he was denying it, so what happened last week that has, made some headlines, although apparently Bob Schieffer didn't see him, is an email came out to Lois Lerner. It's from another person in the tax agency to Lois Lerner, the woman at the center of the targeting scandal. So this is two IRS people talking to each other about their communications with Elijah Cummings' staff. And if you can put it, well, I can't see it on this little board here, but it says the House Oversight Committee they have requested any publicly available information. And you can see right here, it's to Lois Lerner. It's about communication with the House Oversight Committee minority staff. They say the entity that they want the information on is True the Vote. They want tax returns. They want any publicly available information. And this appears to call into question Mr. Cummings' denial to you.
Well, it absolutely does, because he said that there was no communication, essentially is what he said, with any federal agency about True the Vote, which turns out not to be true. And we went ahead and filed our ethics complaint and asked the Office of Congressional Ethics to investigate him. And then last Thursday, after we saw this, we supplemented our complaint and said, you're the only ones. The House Ethics Committee is really the only ones that can get Congressman Cummings' emails and documents and all the communications from his staff. See, we don't even really know what the IRS gave to Congressman Cummings and his staff.
You're not supposed to be having, a partisan person, whether it's Elijah Cummings or a Republican on the other side, coordinating with what's supposed to be a mostly independent agency, the tax agency, about people's tax returns and other information, even if they're publicly available. Am I correct? That is not supposed to be happening.
That's absolutely. Megan, you have really put your finger on what is the underlying problem of this entire scandal, which is that the Lois Lerner and the top brass at the IRS came to see its role as somehow the enforcement arm of the Democratic Party and Democratic members of Congress and the White House. And they began to carry out these activities to pursue conservative groups because these politicians were demanding it. And yet all of these people, Lois Lerner, all of them, they have civil service protection. And the only difference between what happened in Watergate, when Richard Nixon asked the IRS to go after his political enemies, was when Richard Nixon asked, they refused. When these Democratic politicians said, go do something about these conservative groups because they're challenging us and we don't like what they're saying about us, the IRS took it upon itself to do their bidding and to try to silence these groups. And in this case, Elijah Cummings said to the IRS that he was undertaking an investigation of True the Vote. Oh. Now, there is nothing proper about that.
Now, he denies doing anything inappropriate. He says his communications were all appropriate, but he has not elaborated on that and won't come give us a full statement, which we'd be happy to hear him out on. It was curious, I have to say, Cleta, however, because he was one of the first to go out there, and I'll just play the soundbite quickly before we end, and declare this thing over, long before it really was. Watch.
Right.
Based upon everything I've seen, the case is solved. And if it were me, I would wrap this case up and move on.
I got to go. We'll talk to you again.
Right. Thank you.